It's bad news. The job has been stopped. So today I get to be sat down on the job, which is good. Like this. Right, windless. We need to try and get this sorted out. First job, I think, is we need to remove these studs. These studs are done for. And we need to get some fresh, clean ones. Let's see if we can get these out. Doesn't look like it's going to be easy. Before we get stuck into that windlass, the battery's turned up for this remote control. I can't really test it yet because everything's disconnected, but I might be able to see if the power light comes on. So let's just get this battery in. Right, positive, negative. Quick test then. Aha! Success. Excellent. There we go. So now we've sorted the remote control out, which we can't test right now. We need to get back to the windlass. And the first job, I think, is to remove these rotten old studs. These are no good, they've got to go. They're all rusty. A couple of them sheared off anyway. So we need to get these out and get some new ones ordered. Now, in the absence of anything more suitable, I've got these. I don't know whether these are going to be any good. Let's give it a try. No, not at all. So these aren't moving. I think to shift them, I need to heat them up. I don't want to try and move them too much with these large grips because I could end up shearing them off and giving myself a bigger job. I need to heat them up. I don't have any heat here. I do have a form of heat, but I'm out of gas. But I'm not going to make a special trip right now to go and fetch gas because I'm sure I'm going to have to make some more trips in a bit to get other bits and pieces. So we'll just put this on the back burner while we get on with the rest of it. Next job then, let's just get this case back off again that we temporarily put on yesterday. I'm going to need a pot to put my screws in because I have a habit of losing things. I'll use this. Let's just release the motor from the gearbox. And I think there's some slight evidence of corrosion, but I think it's caught in the grease. Now, what probably seems like only a minute to you has been hours to me. Everything has been seized on and it's been a bit of a nightmare to get off. And one of the problems is the proper tools to take this off I do possess, I just don't know where they are. I think this is an old person thing. You kind of forget where you store things. And I've got 4 places I can store tools. There's this unit here, there's my van, there's the boat, and there's my garage at home. And between those 4 places, I can't find the right tools. The bearing puller that would have been really useful would have had this pulley off in about 30 seconds. I've no idea where it is. It might be in my garage at home. The next problem I've now got is this circlip, and I've got 2 sets of circlip removers and I've got the same problem. Where are they? I don't know. So I've got 2 choices. I could either disappear now and go and find them, which kind of wrecks the rest of the day, or I can try and persevere without them. For now, I'll persevere without, see if I can get this circlip off, but I'll need the circuit pliers to put it back on in the future. So we will find those when I go home. Right, let's see if we can butcher this off without butchering it, if that makes sense. Well, to say we don't have all the right tools, I don't think we've done too bad. We managed to get away without the circlip remover. I've managed to get away without a hammer at the moment. But what I've not managed to get away with is heat to remove those studs, but most importantly, a bearing puller or a pulley puller, because I just cannot get this pulley off. And the problem I've got with this is that's aluminium. And it's just distorting. If I put things behind it, it tends to distort the aluminium. So rather than pressing my luck any further, I'm going to go and get myself a bearing puller and I'm going to get some heat. I've got to search my garage. I think my bearing puller's in the garage because tools that I tend to use on my motorcycle, they tend to be in my garage. But I can't do that right now because I've got to get myself sorted to drive 6.5 hours away to go and see my dear old mum. It's her 80th birthday. We're having a bit of a family get together. So this method's not working. Using the pulleys and the levers just to try and get this warp pulley off. It's a little bit soft. It's kind of flexing and warping a little bit. I need to be a little bit careful. Last week, I didn't have my bearing puller. This week, I've dug it out. It's here. So let's see if we can get it off properly this time. It's stuck on that solid. It's actually breaking that pulley, so we're going to need a new pulley now when we get this off. Just cannot shift it. Ooh. Oh no! I did fairly well. 3 out, 1 broken, and that's my fault. I got a little bit carried away. I did so well with the other 2. I went a bit fast with that. It was actually starting to turn, and I went too quick and cracked it. So I've got to try and figure out a way of getting that out now. Well, I think these are M10. This is an M10 bolt. Oh. Right, so that job was one of those nightmares, complete nightmare. I got the bearing puller, but it was just completely seized onto this shaft. You can see aluminium and steel, they don't make a good combination, or perhaps they make too good a combination. And you can see the corrosion there. And just winding it off just distorted and split the aluminium pulley. So we're a warp pulley down, or a warp drum, or I don't know what you call them. Oh, it sat down. Anyway, I had to take that side off to be able to split this gearbox. Just let me show you what's happening in case you kind of didn't figure it out. A few in last week's video said, oh, you have to tighten up the clutch and things like that. But it's not the drive from the output shaft to the pulleys, it's the drive from the input shaft to the output shaft. Let me show you. So this, now covered in aluminium filings, that's the input shaft. And you can see we can spin that, but it doesn't spin the output shaft. And that replicates what we saw when we're on the boat, as you saw. Now, let's get it apart and let's figure out what the problem is. Whoever you are, thank you very, very much for sending me the welding wire. No name came through with it, but thank you anyway. I think you also sent me some abrasive discs. Don't forget, if you do want me to know who you are, I'm sure some of you want to be anonymous, but if you do, leave your name. It's in the gift certificate if you're getting us things on our Amazon wish list. I wanted to thank everybody that supported us. We've got quite a few members now, Patreons. Quite a few people have supported us on the Amazon wish list. And I wanted to say how grateful we are for that contribution, because that contribution does help us progress faster. Sadly, I don't think that's coming out of there. I've tried the stud removers. I think the problem possibly was a little bit off-centre with the drilling. The only way to salvage this really is to get this on a machine, like a milling machine or a decent drill, and just drill precisely, and then we'll probably have to re-tap the hole. However, I think that's all academic right now, because we've got a problem, and that problem came after I cleaned up this shaft. I've been looking for a reason why we've had no drive. We had drive onto the input shaft, no drive from the output shaft. And this is, I believe this is what you call a transfer wheel, or transfer cog. It's where the worm gear meshes here. And the idea is the worm gear spins, that's the input shaft. And as it turns, it spins this transfer wheel, this rotor. But if you look, hope you can see, the teeth are shot, they're gone. And I imagine what's been happening is that's just been slipping over those teeth. So this job is completely stopped. This windless is no good. So we've two choices. We either see if we can source one of these, because this is not a part that you can make, or that I can make easily, because it's not just a cog, which is difficult enough to make to start with, but it's a cog with a complex shaped face, because you have this kind of clutch engagement mechanism here. I don't know what that is, but so it's more complex than just being a gear. So I either find the replacement part, and then we'd have to repair this casing and repair the motor, or secondly is get a new windless. So I'm going to have a think about that, because I don't think this is going to be salvageable. If you know anything about windlasses and parts for windlasses and where I can get one of these, please do let me know. So that means I can't carry on with the windlass job at the front of the boat, which I was planning to do this week. It's bad news. The job has been stopped. We've been told we can't progress any further. Just when you think things can't get any worse, when you find out that your windlass is completely kaput, more bad news comes your way. No more hot work. We've been stopped, banned, kaput. The work has to cease right now. No more welding and grinding until we get a permit. Right, so we're just pending a permit. It's not a tragedy, because we do have the paperwork already. We've got to provide a few risk assessments and method statements, and some certification of the gear that I've got, which is fine. We've got all that paperwork. And I've also produced some certification of myself, which I already have, believe it or not, and some extras I had to do. Abrasive wheels course. I've done that in the past, but I needed to get that up to date. They give you a sell-by date now on courses, have you noticed? Because there's a whole industry to courses. So the fact I've done an abrasive wheels course in the past makes no difference. I've had to do another one. So it's not a tragedy, except it's going to take a little bit of time for it to get signed off. In the meanwhile, we've got to find ourselves something constructive and entertaining to do. So I've got some plans. We need to get on with this rudder assembly, don't we? You're all looking down on me again. Right, so I need to get on with the rudder assembly. The problem is, before I get on with that, is I can't breathe in here. So we moved all this steel around, and we've put this steel in, and I just don't feel like I've got enough space. These benches are kind of getting in the way, and to be honest with you, they're not that practical to use. So I think I'll need to make myself some space here. I'm not quite sure I'm going to do it, because this is a steel bench and won't move easily. But I think I've got to figure out a way of freeing up some space in here, and I'm going to do that now.
just met when the leaves were falling. You felt like home. It was like you could see right through me, but now I'm all alone. I couldn't make you love me, now I know why. Two wrongs don't make a right. I know you don't deserve me, and I'll be alright on my own. Looking back on the long cold morning.
So in order to get a permit to do hot work in Heath House, that's welding and grinding, I've had to submit a RAMS, that's a risk assessment and method statement. Because I've had to do a risk assessment and method statement, I've got to comply now with what I've written in the method statement. And in keeping with the method statement, I've had to kind of fireproof the flammable parts that are in here in Heath House, because there are some bits and pieces like some aerosols. There is kind of the wood and things behind us. So I've installed this welding blanket that I was gotten from my Amazon wish list. Thank you very much. And we've installed this here, and we've had a clear up as well. We've made things a lot safer. We fetched the fire extinguishers down. The water was already working. So still waiting for the permit. In the meanwhile, though, not being able to weld is holding up the job. But let me show you what I was going to do. This is what you could have won this week. Look at these. Now, these were made for me by Aid from Aid's workshop. And they're going to go on the rudder post. Now, I wasn't to weld those on this week, but I can't, as you know. But I'll show you where they go anyway. Look at those. So those go here. So you can probably see we had this scabby cutout here. And these go around the scabby cutout and get welded to here and also to the rudder post. And that's going to give us a little bit more security and a little bit more solidity, if that's the right word. So I'll leave those there for now to remind me that they need to go in. It's a little bit cramped in here. If you're interested in how those brackets were made, check out Aid's workshop. The video's up here. That's the actual video where he made these brackets and put them on his own YouTube channel. Please do check that out. Thanks, Aid. Thanks for those. This is the top of the rudder tube. And we have those posts that go through there with a flange that connects to the rudders. On the top, this seems to be this oil seal, labyrinth seal, Aid called it. But the reason behind this seal is we pump grease into here via a grease nipple on the back. And that prevents the grease from coming up, and the grease can go downwards, and that acts as a water barrier to the inside of the shaft, but also lubricates it. So what I need to do is replace this. This is damaged, but it's old anyway. So we need to pop that out if we can. So it's been a pretty tortuous week this week. Everything stopped. Windless has stopped. That's kaput. Welding stopped. Grinding stopped. I've had to go and visit my stepdad. He was in hospital this week. It was my mum's 80th birthday at the same time. We had to go for her birthday party. So short video this week. Hopefully we should have the permit fairly soon and we can crack on with some more work. In the meanwhile, thanks for sticking with us. Hopefully I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe button, hype button, all that jazz. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.
I can't believe that you came into my life. You made me feel again. Now it's my turn. You say you've always been a little bit shy, but I can put an end to your fears. Let me show you